In this tutorial, I'm going to talk about how you can move my camera over here, how you can sync data from one Coda doc to another doc, how you can sync data from one Google Sheet to another sheet using Google Apps script, and also talk about one third method with it, which is using a function called IMPORTRANGE in Google Sheets to sync data between Google Sheets. So if you read this blog post about how to sync data between Coda docs and Google Sheets, if you want to read this blog post more about the tutorial, feel free to go here. I'll link to this in the YouTube video. But essentially the reason why you'd want to sync data from one doc to another doc is if you, let's say, are a digital agency and you only want to share certain data from your doc with your clients. You don't want them to go into your main Coda doc. You'd rather have them go into their own doc, but it contains information from your master doc. So how do you send data from your master doc down to another doc? And we're first going to talk about how you can make that sync happen. So if I go into Coda right now, this is, let's say, my master doc. I have two tables. One is called Other Team Stuff, and one is called Team Tasks. And my Team Tasks table is very close to what you may see in the real world. You have a bunch of features with teams, the stage in which the feature is being built, and also various points of contact. And so this is one master list of tasks for a given project. But let's say I have this other doc right here, and this one I want to show just the data that matters for Adam Davis. If you go back to the master doc, you notice that Adam Davis, he has a few tasks like this one right here and this one right here, but he doesn't want to go into this master doc to look at this master table of tasks. He could, of course, build a view of this table to see only the tasks that matter for him, but for the sake of this exercise, Adam Davis only wants to see the tasks from this master table in his own private doc, in his own private space. So how do you get two docs to talk to each other? And that problem is solved using Google Apps script. So the first thing you want to do is so you want to have your two docs that you want to kind of sync open. And remember, this is only a one-way sync. It only syncs data from your master doc to the target doc. So going forward, I'm going to call this master teams doc the source doc, and then this doc the target doc. So how do we go about doing this? So the first thing is you want to go to script.google.com and then click on new script. And I have a few already created here, but I'm going to show you the script that is used in the blog post and which you can use for your own projects. So after you go to script.google.com, click on create new script, and you're going to get a script that looks, well, you're going to get something completely brand new that looks like you're going to get a blank script. Let's put it that way. But you can just copy and paste the script from the blog post directly into your project here, and you can go ahead and start running the script, or start editing the script rather. So if you need the script also, you can go to my GitHub. There is a gist here, Coda one-way sync v2. This is the same exact script used in the blog post. So if you copy all this stuff and put it into Google Apps script here, you can get started on your way. So you notice the script is a little long, but the only thing you have to really worry about for now is this stuff up here. So once you edit some of these variables from rows, in my case from rows 5 to row 34, then the script will work. Everything that says to update are things that you have to basically put in to make your script work. So let's do this step by step. So the first thing you're going to want to do is get your API key from Coda. The way you do that is just go into your source doc, click on the icon here, go to account settings, Then if you scroll below, you're going to see API settings, and I already have a token generated, but click on Generate API Token and copy and paste that token into the script. I'm not going to generate it here because then you're going to be able to access my account, but the main thing is to copy and paste this API token into this right here. So this is going to look something like this, like a bunch of random characters and strings. Now I actually have my token saved in row 1, so I obviously don't want to show my token, so I'm just going to comment this line out for now. So the next thing is you have to get the source doc ID and the target doc ID. Again, the source is the master table that we want to sync data from. The target doc is the doc we want to sync data into. So if I go to my source doc, you're going to notice that this is a long URL of your doc, but everything after the _d is your doc ID. So everything from _x_a-t blah 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 up until the slash, this is considered the doc ID for your Coda doc. So copy that, just that portion of the doc, go back to your script and paste that here. The target doc. So this is the Adam Davis doc. This is the smaller condensed doc that I want to use just for myself to contain some data. If I go up here, everything after the _d is CS5EG4-9QL. It's going to copy this, go back to my script, up and paste that into the target doc ID. The last thing is the target table source row column variable. You can leave this alone for now, but in general, I set it to source row URL. And what that means is in all the tables, you notice in my Adam Davis doc, this is the target doc, I have 2 tables set up, my stuff and Adam Davis's tasks. I have the same exact column structure as my 2 tables here. Notice how other team stuff is task, complete, time estimate. I only wanted to get the task and complete, I only wanted the task and complete columns. Org priority is going to be something I do myself, but I added this source row URL column, which you have to do to make sure the script works. Again, this column name is the same thing as what shows up right here. Let's zoom in a little bit. Same thing applies for the tasks table. So this table right here is going to contain only Adam Davis's tasks. So this is the team task table. Notice I have feature, team, milestone stage, code completion, POC. Those are the same columns here, feature, team, blah, 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 POC. But there's an added column of source row URL, which I added in addition to the columns I'm syncing. And you're going to see why that source row URL column is important in a minute. So leave this alone for now. Now we actually get into the fun part, which is the tables that you want to sync. So the way that this script is structured is that you can basically have your first table sync here, where you have in this script, I'm assuming that all the tables you want to sync are from one doc, and they're also being synced to one other doc. So this is the first table you want to sync. So this is the first table from the source doc is going to be this table right here, other team stuff, and we want to sync it to my team stuff. So we want to get the table ID from the source doc to put it here, and then the table ID from the target doc and put it here. So how do we do that? At the very bottom of the script, there is a helper function called print doc tables. And what that does is it prints information about the doc so that you can reference the IDs and column names and so on and so forth. Now, this is not the most elegant solution. I'm thinking about other ways to do this. But for now, you'll notice that up here, when we put in the source doc ID and target doc ID, you can now reference these variables later on in the script. So if I go down to print doc tables, I'm going to change this variable to source doc ID. And now if I go to select function up here, go to print doc tables, which is the name of this function, I'm going to hit play or run. So it's running the function. And I'm going to look for the other team stuff table in the output of that function. So after you run the print doc tables function, click on the View Logs option. And this is, again, a look at all the tables in your doc. So I'm going to look for my other team stuff, which is right here. And you notice that my other team stuff, the ID is this guy right here, grid-xn40. All table IDs start with the word grid and dash. So I'm going to copy this, other team stuff. I'm just going to make sure that's the right table, other team stuff. I'm going to put that in my first table for my source doc I want to sync. So right here. Now I need to get the table from my target doc, which is my stuff. I want to get the table ID for this. So in order to do that, I have to scroll down here, change this variable to target doc because we want to get the tables from our target doc. I'm going to hit run again. It's going to run for a bit. Go to View Logs. And if I recall, it's called this My Stuff. I'm going to look for My Stuff here. There's only two tables. My Stuff is right here, and the table ID is grid-h3, blah, blah, blah. All right, so I'm going to copy that. Oops, put that over here. And there I'm done. That's all I need to do to get my first table synced. Now my second table is this big one right here. I want to sync all the rows from my team tasks table into Adam Davis tasks table in the target doc. So if I go back to my logs, actually I'm just going to do this one more time just for the purpose of this example. Change this back to source, hit run, go to View Logs, and the name of that table is called Team Tasks, right? This is all the data related to team tasks. I'm going to select that table ID here, copy, go back up to my table definition, paste that ID here, so that's my source doc. So the last thing I need is to get the target table ID. So if I go down here, change this to target doc ID variable, hit run, view the logs, and that table is called Adam Davis tasks. I'm going to select this ID, copy that, go back up here, and paste. And that's all you need to do to get your sync set up. What I've basically set up now with just copy and pasting a few IDs is the ability to sync two unique tables in my source doc with two unique tables in my target doc. Now let's say you have more than two tables you want to sync. All you have to do is copy all this stuff right here. Make sure you add a comma after the second table. Paste this, and let's say this is called third table. And let's say I have a fourth table, and you basically rinse and repeat and get the table IDs for the source doc and the target doc that you want to sync into. But for the purposes of this example, I only want to sync these two tables together. I want to sync other team stuff to my team stuff. I want to sync team tasks to Adam Davis's tasks. So I've set that up all right here with these table IDs. Now if I change my function to one-way sync, this is the one that's going to sync all the stuff in my tables. I'm going to click on that, go to one-way sync, hit run. And this might take, I think, about 5 to 10 seconds to finish. And we're going to wait and see if the data correctly synced over from my team master doc to Adam Davis's stuff. So let's go back now to Adam Davis. And there you go. Now I have all my data from my team master doc into Adam Davis's stuff. You're going to notice that the source row URL automatically populated from the script, and that's important because this is what the URL that the Coda API is going to reference when it wants to update data in the table or delete data from the table when it's doing a sync. So normally after the first time I run the sync, I just make sure my source row URL contains the data. And I can hide this because it's kind of ugly for my table. So I'm going to hide that column here, hide that column here. And the conditional formatting doesn't pull in some of the column formats you have to readjust here. This, I believe, was a checkbox. Code completion, I believe this was a date column format. So some of these things you have to fix a little manually, but just fix it once and then you'll be all good to go the next time it does a sync. Now, the main thing I want to do here is I want to change the POC to be only Adam Davis. So I'm going to say POC equals Adam Davis. And now, every time that the sync happens, I will only get the rows related to Adam Davis because I've filtered my table to only the rows that matter to me, Adam Davis. I'm just going to hide this count here because I don't like the count. So let's say I'm back in the master doc, and if I add a task that says something like build new mobile prototype, I can't type. This is the packaging team. This is part of that beta test, not started. This is due 5/18/2019. And I assigned this to Adam Davis. So it's not going to automatically sync right now because I haven't run the sync script. But if I go back to Adam Davis' stuff, you notice I have 4 rows here. The last one is bug fixes. I just added this build new mobile prototype task. If I go back to my sync, hit play again, it's going to think a little bit. If I go back to Adam Davis' stuff, it should show up. There it is, build new prototype. What's really cool is if I delete any rows from my master task table, let's say I delete this stress test packaging and shipping simulation. So Adam Davis has this task in his task list. If I just delete this from my list, from the master table, if I run the sync again, well, actually, I have to give it a few seconds to make sure the commit happens on the table. If I hit, I'm going to try this again. Hopefully it'll work. Hit play. And this row 2, should in theory get deleted from my table once that function finishes running. And it should have finished by now. Let's see. Let's try running it one more time. And so after you've done the sync, you just want to make sure, you might want to apply your own conditional formatting to, oh, there it goes, it just went away. You want to apply your own conditional formatting and apply your own filters so that the table gets filtered down to just the data that you need. Now, what's really great about Google Apps Script is that every time I wanted to run that sync, when I deleted a row or added a row for Adam Davis, I had to go in here and press the run button every single time. But what's great with Google Apps Script is if you click on this icon right here, this trigger, it's going to open up all your project triggers. And what you can do here is you can create a new trigger. And you can say, I want to run the one-way sync function, which is what I was doing manually by hitting that run button. I can say, usually it's going to be a time-driven event source. And then you can say whether or not you want to run every minute, every hour, every day. Generally speaking, for most Coda docs, I think hour is a pretty good cadence to run the script. And then you can just say run it every hour. So now every hour on the hour, the one-way sync script will run, and therefore any new changes in your source doc will get synced into the target doc. So hopefully that gives you a nice summary of how to use Google Apps Script for doing a one-way data sync between 2 Coda tables. Now I'm going to talk about using Google Apps Script now with Google Sheets, which is also a very common scenario. So I have my source doc is right here. It's a team project tracker. I have 2 tabs. I have all team tasks and I have bugs. So a bunch of tasks and a bunch of bugs. And in my stuff, I want to see just stuff that matters to me. I'm going to delete this for now. Actually, what is this? Though this is actually something else. Let's say in my bugs, I want to see I want to get this data synced into the my bugs sheet. So I have bugs from the team project tracker, and I want that to be synced into the my bugs sheet on my stuff. So this script is also available on my gist. So if you go back here, it's also in the blog post. Hit back here. I'm just going to see, make sure I have it. Yeah, Google Sheets one-way sync. You can copy and paste this and put this into Google Apps Script as well. But it's a much shorter script, but there's a lot of pros and cons to using Google Apps Script with Google Sheets, which I list out in the blog. But generally, you only have to also edit 4 lines of code in this scenario. So the source spreadsheet ID, this is just your source doc, your source spreadsheet. This is everything after the d/. So this is all this stuff right here, the 1732. You copy that right here and paste it. The source worksheet name, this is the worksheet in your source document, source spreadsheet that you want to take data from. So this is bugs. So that's why it's called bugs right here. Target spreadsheet ID, this is the same thing from the target doc, everything after the /d. So the 1n blah, 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 copy that, put that into this variable. And then lastly, you have to give the name of the spreadsheet, which is my bugs. So this is a blank spreadsheet for now, but I put it here. Actually, this is new bug. I'm gonna call this my bugs. I think there was a capital B. Save that. Yep, my bugs. So now if I run this script, and this script basically takes everything from the source spreadsheet, which is right here, and puts it into my target spreadsheet here. So I'm going to run this, and it's usually pretty fast. And there you go, it just showed up instantaneously. So Google Apps Script on Google Sheets is much quicker, just because it's a Google product, I believe. But that's one way you can also sync data between your Google Sheets. Now the issue here is if I have a column here, which I have called, let's say I'm going to bold this data right here, lock this here, and if I have a column that's for some reason I want to know the bug ID number, which I also talk about in the blog post, notice how all my bug IDs here start with the word bug and then the number. But if I want to just get the ID, I'm going to do the mid function and do this. I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, I believe, and just grab the last 2 digits. Oh, that's that, right? I think maybe it's 5, starting at 5. There we go. Bold that. So this takes just the bug ID number. So if I change this to 41 for whatever reason, this will give me the bug ID number. Now I have this custom column which I've created that has a formula based on the data that was synced to my target spreadsheet. But what happens if I accidentally, in my source spreadsheet, I add another column that's something like, final due date or something like that. And that's the due date plus 7 days. So what's going to happen is if I run the sync again, notice how now my columns go to column K, but I have a formula in column K already in my target spreadsheet. If I run this script again, let's see what happens. It deletes my column that I created a formula for, which is not super nice, to say the least. So essentially, if you are working with data that isn't changing very much, then I would definitely use Google Sheets where the structure is staying consistent. But if you are writing formulas on top of the data that's being synced, then you have to be very careful because those formulas could be overwritten if new data gets added into your source spreadsheet. So that's how you can do a sync between 2 Google Sheets. Now the last one I'm going to talk about is how to do an import range function. So I'm going to delete this data for now. So instead of using Google Apps Script, you can use a default formula in Google Sheets called import range. So import range, I'm just going to zoom in a little bit so you can see the whole formula. If I do equals import range, whoops, not import HTML, import range, it just asks for a spreadsheet URL and then a range string. So in this case, I'm in my target doc, my target spreadsheet, my stuff. I want to import everything from all team tasks into my stuff. So if I copy this spreadsheet, and just keep in note that all the tasks are from column A through column F. If I go back to my stuff, spreadsheet URL goes in double quotes like that. And then my range is the name of the spreadsheet, which is called all team tasks. So I can do all team tasks. exclamation point. And let's say I do A1 to, what's the last column here, F. If I do, let's say F10, double quote, or parentheses, you notice that it gives me just data that goes to the 10th row. I'm just going to lock this so it makes it more clear what my columns are. And this is great. However, if I get new tasks added to this list of data, I want to be able to get that new data also synced into my table here. So generally speaking, instead of putting in a locked row reference, if you just delete the row reference like that and just say A:(F), you can now get the full list of data as things get added in. So right now the last one is bug fixes. If I say build mobile prototype here, it will show up down here as well. And I can say this is the mapping team, alpha, not started, 7/119. This is Adam Davis. If I go here, this should all show up here as well. And that's the power of using the import range function. The downside is that if you accidentally delete one of these cells, actually I think you can't even delete stuff. So generally speaking, you would probably mark this as like do not touch. You maybe mark this as yellow as like to say this is something like the source data. And you can also write custom formulas. If I want to do like, custom formula here, I can do something like equals left this for whatever reason. It's kind of like a nonsensical formula here. And I can write formulas based off of this data syncing from my master spreadsheet. However, similar to Google Apps Script, if I insert a column here that now is saying something like due date, let's do this, make it all 5/16 for now. Let's see what happens to my data. Now, you notice how in my original import range function, I only went from columns A through F. Well, now A through F is here, but since I added this due date, everything got shifted over to the right by one column, so now POC is gone. So again, one of the downsides of Google Sheets is that it doesn't account for formulas you might be writing in other columns to the right. There's some other aspects about import range, like generally speaking, I also use the query function with import range. Let's see if I can undo everything I did here and see here. This was the original formula I had here. So if you look at this, actually no, it's not even that. Let's see here. There we go. This might be it. Oh no, because I have to undo this. Sorry. This is what happens if you do a live demo. Okay, here we go. This might be it. There we go. Okay. So this is the original formula I had here before I did this demo. Oops. You notice how I put the query here in the very beginning, and I'm selecting everything where column 4, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, the stage, is not started. And therefore, I only get the data from my source spreadsheet where the stage is not started, which is a nice way to filter data, but this requires you to know a little bit of SQL language, which is this stuff right here, which I don't find super useful for a lot of people that are new to spreadsheets, but it is an option. So hopefully after watching this long video, you get an idea of how you can sync data between two Coda docs, from this one to this one, and also from two sheets, Google Sheets, from this one to this one. Thanks for watching.